Independence Day!
Huh?
No!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Apologies for the delay in any videos. I've been really busy writing midterms for school. Also, apologies for the clutter in the back there. I had to move my elliptical trainer into the office here. But I've got lots going on today. I'm going to be seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania tonight, so I'll have a review up for that late tonight, late tomorrow at the latest. But yeah, that's coming. But I wanted to do a video kind of discussing mainly the Flash trailer because I have a lot to say about that. But we'll briefly go over like all of the trailers that came out during the Super Bowl. I know it's a bit late on that too. Apologies. Um, it was also a bit late because I was really pissed off about the Eagles losing and the whole outcome of why they lost. I'm not going to get into that, but let's just say the refs were actually stupid this time. I wanted to say something else, but I don't want to get demonetized. Not that I am monetized anyway. Anyway, let's get into the trailers here. So we'll briefly go over stuff. There was a lot this year. Last year there was like barely anything because of pandemic issues and just lack of theatrical releases in general. But they more than made up for that this year, and a few of these actually came out prior to the game anyway, so they weren't like actually aired during the game, just because airtime during the game is it's like $10 million for a 30-second spot or something ridiculous like that. So we'll just briefly go through these. 65, I don't know much about this. I actually haven't really watched any trailers for this. I just know it's about Adam Driver fighting a bunch of dinosaurs. It might be cool, but this is obviously kind of a mid-budget kind of action thriller. Interestingly, though, it is directed by Scott Beck and Ryan Woods, who wrote A Quiet Place Part 1 and 2, and I love both of those movies, so maybe this will turn out to be good. All right, this one's interesting, Air. It's a movie about the start of Air Jordans and how the sponsorship deal came about with Michael Jordan. I am not a basketball guy at all, so that being said, this movie looks really good because I love Ben Affleck as a director. He is in this movie, but I believe Matt Damon is the star. And I think it's the both of them wrote the script. I believe it doesn't say here. But just from the way the trailer looks, it looks very entertaining. I'm not going to watch most of these because, one, I've seen them, and I just don't want to get claimed by showing too much footage, but nevertheless, this movie looks really good. I'm actually looking forward to this one. Cocaine Bear, I don't understand why people are excited about this. I think it's getting like internet traction just for the lol random factor. Like, oh my god, a bear took cocaine. Isn't that wacky? You didn't expect that. That's such a crazy premise for a movie. I know that it's partially inspired by a true story, but like, I don't know, this just looks really stupid, and the CGI bear looks like really, no disrespect to the VFX people on this, I'm sure they worked their asses off, but it just doesn't look convincing. Yeah, so I don't know, this one's up in the air. I just don't think it's going to be for me personally. Creed 3, I am super excited for this one. To anybody who knows me, I'm a huge fan of the Rocky franchise. I've loved all of them except for maybe the fifth one, and the first two Creeds were really awesome. The first one more so. The second one wasn't quite as good, but the third one looks like it could be really awesome because, one, Michael B. Jordan is directing the movie, and two, Jonathan Majors is his opponent in the film, and that's really, really exciting. He's going to be Kang in the MCU. And just not to mention the cinematography, the fights look really kinetic and just different to what we've seen in the last couple movies. The only thing about this film that's lacking is Sylvester Stallone. I know he had a um, dispute with Irwin Winkler, who was like a producer on the series, and I don't know whether that's true or not. Whatever the reason, it really sucks to not see Rocky here because the character's still around. He wanted to do more, but they just wouldn't do what he wanted. I think Stallone should have a say. Like he created the franchise. Like I hope they can get him back if they do a fourth one. But that being said, this movie does look really awesome, so I'm gonna definitely see it in theaters. Dungeons and Dragons. This looks like a pile of crap to me. I'm sorry. Uh, I am not a D&D fan, so I don't know how accurate this is to any campaigns or any storylines that they've ever had. But just like to me, just from the trailers, it looks like the most generic fantasy adventure film ever. And it sucks because I actually really like Chris Pine, but he looks like he's delivering the corniest, like just not funny lines ever. It just it's not good, man. I don't. I'm not interested. I like the people that are in this and who are making this, but it's just I don't know. Maybe it'll surprise me, but I don't really have any desire to see it in theaters unless people like want me to review it. Um, I feel like there's a lot of other stuff coming out around the same time that I would rather dedicate my time to. So this is probably out of everything that I've seen, like coming out of these Super Bowl trailers, this is the one I'm the least interested in. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, this movie looks really awesome. I love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It's one of my favorite MCU movies. Um, I have mixed feelings on James Gunn, as you know, because of what is going on with DC, but I have to separate that from this because this looks really good, and I'm hopeful that he'll leave Marvel on a high note and kind of maybe he'll actually work out for DC. We'll see, but I think he's a much better fit with this sort of brand, and I don't know. I know it's going to be emotional as hell. Like you know, characters are going to die. He said that this is the last film for the Guardians as a whole. Like, some of the characters will probably stick around, but it's not going to be in the same way as Um, and this trailer itself looked really good. It's just kind of more of the same of the first trailer. The best moment was at the end, the joke with Peter and Nebula. I'm not gonna ruin it. You should just go watch it. But that was funny. Indiana Jones. They didn't really do a big uh, full trailer for this. It's kind of just showing a little bit more footage in a little TV spot. Um, I think this movie could go either way. Uh, the Indiana Jones franchise is obviously one of my favorites. I don't think they've really ever made one as good as Raiders, though. Um, to fans, I guess, as long as this is better than Crystal Skull, which I didn't even really hate that much, I thought it was okay. Then this will be okay for them. But James Mangold is directing it, and Logan is possibly my favorite movie of all time. So I love James Mangold; like he's one of my favorite directors. But I worry that this could maybe succumb to the Lucasfilm machine and be just another generic adventure film. And I'm also suspect about 80-something-year-old Harrison Ford doing this, but who knows? And I do really like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who's in this from Fleabag. I thought that show was great. Um, but at the same time, she was in Solo as that annoying droid, so it can be really annoying and cringe too. So I really hope it's more like Fleabag Phoebe Waller-Bridge than that. So we'll see. John Rhys Davies is back, so yeah, that's really cool. Fast X, we don't really need to talk about. I did a trailer reaction. This big GameSpot is kind of more of the same, so if you want to know my thoughts on the Fast series, just go watch that video. The Flash, I'm gonna wait till the end to talk about because we're gonna go through the trailer. Scream 6. I wasn't really excited about this when they announced it because one, the last film I thought was pretty good, but it kind of disappointed me because I predicted every single twist that was in the film, and also they killed off David Arquette, who was my favorite character in the series, so that kind of pissed me off. Um, and then also because they announced it only a year, it's like this is only a year basically after that last one. So when there's that quick a turnaround between sequels, it kind of there's always the danger that it's rushed and like just a mess. That being said, I from the trailers and just kind of some of the buzz going around about this movie, my excitement has gone up. So I'm hopeful that this will be better than the last film, even though the last film was all right. But I think this could actually be one of the better ones in the series. Um, it's interesting they're actually doing a 3D release for this, which is really I didn't expect that. I guess Avatar's brought 3D back, so get ready for lots of crappy conversions after that. But yeah, I'm actually interested. The New York setting is really cool. That's a different setting for the franchise. I've heard that the killer's identity for this has leaked on Twitter already, so I have muted all mention of that till I'm gonna see this movie. I suggest you do the same if you don't want to be spoiled, because really the fun of these movies is figuring out who it is. And that was kind of my problem with the last film is I kind of knew who it was right off the bat. It was really not that hard to figure out. Uh, so yeah, Scream 6 I'm modestly excited for. We'll see. And Transformers Rise of the Beasts. This I think this could end up being like okay, this is not going to be anything groundbreaking. This is going to be a typical summer blockbuster. But for Transformers fans, I think this could actually end up being the best film they've released thus far. Now, for a lot of the movies, that's a pretty low bar, but Bumblebee was really a good film. Like not amazing, but good. And I did like the first Michael Bay Transformers film. It's a nostalgic movie for me. I saw it when I was a kid, and I do have a soft spot for the third film, Dark of the Moon, just because I kind of like some of the tonal shifts in that and the action, even though some also really stupid parts. The last two that he did with Wahlberg were awful. But I think this one could end up being really good. The Beast Wars are being introduced, and just the designs of the robots are very good, and I think this could end up being. There's not a lot about the plot, like from the first trailer or this big game spot, because this is kind of a like a commercial more than like a trailer, because it doesn't really show too much new. So, but yeah, there's not a ton of plot that we know about this going into it yet. But I think this could potentially launch kind of a new era for Transformers in movies. Hopefully, if this movie sucks, it might be the nail in the coffin for Transformers as far as movies are concerned. So this kind of has to do well. But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about this one. I think it could be a fun movie. Like it's not going to be anything amazing, but I think it could be worth your time potentially. Okay, so after that, we're gonna go right into the Flash because that's kind of what we're here to talk about mainly. Um, so as I've mentioned before on this channel, one, the DC universe is one of my favorite, most like things that I'm most passionate about as far as like entertainment. Uh, I'm a movie fan first. I'm not one of those people who's only going to talk about comic book stuff on my channel. I'm not one of those people who presents themselves as a movie channel, but then all they talk about is comic book movies. I'm not going to name any names, but there's quite a few of them out there who do that. Um, but I still love superheroes and they're a big part of my life, especially the DC universe, because, you know, DC is what got me into comic books in the first place, especially like Batman and Superman, the big ones. And springboarding off of that, I was a huge fan of the Snyderverse, as you know. And I was really upset at the way that it was resolved. Like, don't get me wrong, I am so glad that we got the Snyder Cut. I love that movie. It's one of the best comic book movies ever made, in my opinion. But it ended on a cliffhanger, and we're never going to see the way that ends with the way that DC Films has kind of shaken up recently. So when I heard that this was going to reset everything, I was very against this movie. I wanted a legit like Flash movie just on its own. I wanted to continue the Snyderverse. So I was just against this movie from day one. And I'd heard plot leaks that kind of made me not really more confident. Um, and I'm not going to get into the Ezra Miller thing. If you have an opinion on that, that's fine. I'm not touching it. Go somewhere else if you want discussion on that. But all of that being said, I was really impressed with this trailer. I think it looks really comic booky. It looks really epic. The cameos, while being kind of nostalgia baiting, look really fun. And just I don't know, it looks more like a Flash movie than I expected. Obviously, they're adapting Flashpoint. If you don't know what Flashpoint is, it is basically in 2011, DC wanted to reboot their entire comic book line, which is what they're doing now, the movies. So they had a storyline where Barry Allen, the Flash, goes back in time to save his mother, who was killed when he was a child. But in doing that, he creates a new timeline where, and I'm talking about the comic book version right now, where Superman was not, he didn't land in Kansas, so he was taken by the government and locked away, so there's no Superman. Bruce Wayne is the one who died in the alley, so not his parents, and Thomas Wayne actually becomes Batman, and he's a lethal Batman who kills people, and he drinks, and he's just a mess. And the premier superhero in the world is Cyborg, not Superman. And then on top of all that, the Amazons and Atlantis are at war with each other because of just personal disputes and all that kind of stuff. So basically, the world is going to shit in this reality. And Barry Allen doesn't have his powers either because he never became the Flash in this reality. So he has to figure out a way to save everything. And he set the timeline back to what it was. But out of that, he didn't quite set the timeline back to what it was. It became the New 52, which was the new universe at the time. So that's what's going to happen here. It's going to reset the Snyderverse into James Gunn's DCU, which I'd be fine with, but it's annoying that they're keeping some actors and getting rid of others, because obviously Jason Momoa is probably still Aquaman and others, but that's besides the point. So just as a movie on its own, this looks pretty impressive. I like Andy Muschietti as a director. This Flash suit has its good parts and its bad parts. For the most part, I like it. I don't love this like texturing that's on here. I actually really liked Ezra's old suit that he had in Justice League. I know a lot of people didn't, but I thought it was a cool kind of grounded way to kind of bring that suit into live action. This is a lot more comic booky, but it still looks like I like the helmet. But yeah, this part I'm not too crazy about. And then here we see Michael Keaton's cowl on the ground. I think this is probably implied to be him maybe when he quits being Batman because he's retired at this point. But I can't really speculate too much on what that is. Right here, where is it? this is Ben Affleck's Batman. That's the one consolation I can take from this movie, is that at least I will get to see Ben Affleck as Batman one more time. I would love if Henry was in this film too, and he was apparently, and they cut his cameo, so that part kind of angers me, but oh well. And yeah, we're just kind of going through Barry, kind of talking about going to the new timeline, like I said in the comics, with some minor changes. That's when his mother dies. Just have Barry kind of reminiscing about the past. I really like the VFX they're doing on the lightning here. And this is a real geek thing, but I wonder how they're going to explain how he had blue lightning in Justice League, and he does here, but then he has yellow lightning now. So how are they going to explain the color change? Which is kind of, that could be interesting. Then he runs into a duplicate of himself. And I think they did a good job here of, just changing the hair and just the outfit kind of really differentiates them and almost makes them look like two different people in a way. And I like the subtle nod with the earphones of the flashes, like his lightning bolts. It's a cool shot here. I don't know how to say it. It's just cool. And then we get the flash ring, which is really cool. That's an element that I never thought would actually make it to the big screen, because it's kind of a goofy concept having just your ring hold your whole costume, but it's still cool because it's a classic part of the Flash lore, that he just does that. And I heard that Bruce Wayne makes this for him, which is cool. Then we get Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, which is, like I said, that's awesome. Him and Robert Pattinson are tied for my favorite Batman. To me, Ben Affleck embodies the Batman that works with other heroes like the Justice League and inhabits that side of it. And Robert Pattinson kind of encapsulates Batman as far as the detective and the kind of standalone Batman who just works within Gotham and is starting out his career. So I think these two kind of perfectly capture Batman in two different parts of his life, which I really like. So we get to see him one more time, which I like, obviously. This was really cool. So I guess this film kind of goes back to the events of Man of Steel within this new timeline. So that's pretty interesting. And obviously that's cool because we get to see Michael Shannon back as General Zod. And I love Man of Steel, as you know, so this is really awesome. The one consolation I can take from this movie is that I get to see the Snyderverse characters one more time in a really epic, cool fashion. So that's cool. I love this shot here of his arm. That's awesome. It looks like the desert where Superman and Zod first meet up in Man of Steel, so that's probably where this is. Yeah, the suit looks honestly kind of better without the neon lighting, and it's just kind of like this. I think it looks better that way. And we have Supergirl, who is basically, she's replacing the role of Superman in the Flashpoint comic, where she's the one locked away by the government and was captured by them. I think that's a cool twist, and Sasha Calle looks really awesome in the costume. She looks like she's doing a great job, but at the same time, I would have rather had Henry just to say goodbye to him one more time, because Black Adam wasn't a real goodbye. That was just a cameo. Then we get into Michael Keaton, and the Batcave is looking. I think this looks pretty different from what it looked like in like, Batman Returns. So obviously some changes have happened. I love the new Bat plane. That looks really cool. Then we get the big reveal here. I think his costume looks pretty cool. I don't love the way he delivered this line though. And what I mean by that is like it's awesome to hear him say I'm Batman. That's, that's his line. But him looking into the camera and the big pause just feels like pandering to the audience and pandering to people who only love nostalgia bait. The people who will, without any substance, look at this and say, I love Michael Keaton's Batman. I'm going to clap at this. And it doesn't matter the context behind it. So that's just my opinion of that moment, just in a vacuum. Maybe in the context of the movie, it'll work better. That being said, it's still awesome to see him. He's another great Batman, in my opinion. And I think the reason they included him here is that Michael Keaton's Batman, he killed a lot of people. People who complain about Ben Affleck, like Michael Keaton killed way more people than Ben Affleck. And he did it like with a smile on his face in Batman Returns, which was funny, but that's what it is. But I think the reason they're including him is because basically he's replacing Thomas Wayne in that fashion, being the lethal Batman. I guarantee you that's what they're going to do in the film. He's going to still be a lethal Batman because it's a separate universe, and he's going to fill that role. That's cool, but I would have rather seen Thomas Wayne have it be Jeffrey Dean Morgan from BVS. I think that would have been a nice way to kind of close this universe off, but it's Michael Keaton. I'm not going to complain too much. He's awesome. So moving on, we get an action scene with him. That's a great shot. That is really cool. The reason that's cool is because in Batman Returns, they had the shot of him with that like weird glider thing he had on his back, kind of as a way to do the wing spread like that. But it kind of didn't work. Like that's the one moment of that movie where I'm like, that doesn't look great. This is more like what it should be. Like it looks like the comic books. It's awesome. Yeah, not too much to complain about with this part. And you get the dumb fainting joke. This scene here, I've seen people say, "Oh my god, that's Christian Bale! Holy crap, he's on the Batpod." It's not Christian Bale. This is Ben Affleck. This is from like early on in the movie before Barry goes back in time. Christian Bale is not going to be in this movie because he has said repeatedly he will not do another Batman unless it's Christopher Nolan, and there's none of this comic booky stuff in it. He's not interested in that. So, yeah, this is not Christian Bale. Then we just kind of get a lot of cool action shots. This is really cool. I love this shot of Keaton coming out of the sewer here. That's really awesome. For a 70-year-old Batman, he's looking pretty good, I have to say. And we get the classic Batarang here, but he added like kind of a blade to the end of it, it looks like. This is a really cool shot too, because there's the two Barrys in this. They both get flash powers, and I do know a little bit of a spoiler about that, but I will not give it away for people who just want to find out. This is Barry's room here. There's a Pacific Rim poster for some reason. So I think this here is Feora from Man of Steel, because she is confirmed to be in this movie. So if anybody was excited about that, I think that's her there. It's a cool shot here of Kara doing her heat vision. Okay, and then we come to Affleck in his costume here. Um, I like that he has the navy blue now. That's cool. But what is up with all this here? Like, that is way too over designed, in my opinion. I don't know why they couldn't just keep the Justice League suit and add the blue to it. Like, that would have been fine. I don't know. Probably for toy purposes, I bet. So they can make a toy of that. Then we get our last little action bit here with Supergirl. The green screen on this shot needs to be fixed by the time the movie comes out, because that. Yeah, that's the Flash, and then we get kind of a gag at the end here. But I'll set it on Keaton's face there to end it. I'm actually excited for this now, where I wasn't before. So the trailer did its job. I think this movie could potentially do really well, and if it does, that's going to be confusing for WB, because then it's going to be like, well, did a movie with our Snyderverse characters, but now it's successful, so what do we do? But I mean, it's also coming out at a really competitive month. Like, same month that this comes out is Across the Spider-Verse, Indiana Jones, Transformers, and I think maybe one other thing, but those movies alone are huge competition for it. So, and it's not going to have very many premium screens. It'll probably just have it for a week, which is pretty. Or it'll have to split it with a different film. But we will see when June comes around. June 16th it releases. Again, all these trailers. Out of all the trailers, this is probably the one I liked the best, which is good because I'm such a big DC fan. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. I will have the Ant-Man review up either tonight or tomorrow. So look forward to that. And yeah, there's a lot of movies coming out. Yeah, I'll see you guys later.